Hi there. Welcome to Hey Sound Guy, a podcast where I'll be peeking behind the curtains of the wonderful world of music. Each week I'll be speaking to sound engineers, music industry professionals, and musicians. We'll get to know them a little bit better and share some fun stories from the road. Now, my next guest is a fantastic guy, a great trombone player. We met each other through our kids go to the same school, and we've become friends. He plays trombone for the London Philharmonic Orchestra, and we've enjoyed our lockdown, having a little bubble, and it was a great pleasure for me to talk to him. Please welcome my good friend Mark Templeton.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you for coming. Thank you for doing this.
Right, it's been days since I've seen you.
I know. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
How's that crystallized ginger?
It's fucking great.
Good,
I love it. Yeah. Right. Tell us quickly. You had the tongue twister that you did in the beginning, and when we weren't recording. Do that again, and then tell us the story about the finish.
Okay. So have you heard that tongue twister before?
I have, yeah, but not as fast as you do.
Right, so Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper, a peck of pickled pepper, Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper, where's the peck of pickled pepper Peter Piper picked? Yeah, it was one of my dad's little things that he taught us. Yeah, I was.
Does that help with playing faster notes on the trombone?
No, not at all. No, not at all. I mean, there's lots of silly things that I do that have absolutely no bearing on my life or my thing. Yeah, like being on tour, a bit drunk in a room, and someone brought up the Finnish conductor Esa-Pekka Salonen, and which made me think of there's Esa-Pekka Salonen and Jukka-Pekka Suastro, and that fits quite nicely in with the lyrics. So if you've got Esa-Pekka picked a peck of Jukka-Pekka's pickled peppers, a peck of Jukka-Pekka's pickled peppers, Esa-Pekka picked. If Esa-Pekka picked a peck of Jukka-Pekka's pickled peppers, where's the peck of Esa-Pekka's pickled peppers Jukka-Pekka picked? So yes, it's very silly.
Brilliant. And you came up with that by yourself.
I know, and I'm amazing.
Can you just borderline? You know?
Yeah, my limits are talentless.
Brilliant. Great. Right. So, can you please tell us who you are and what you do?
So, well, as you said, I'm Mark Templeton. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
I play the trombone, mainly in the London Philharmonic Orchestra for the last 15 years, I think. Someone told me I'm the second longest serving principal trombone in the London Philharmonic Orchestra. I've only got to make another 4 years, and I'll be the longest serving principal trombone after Derek James, apparently.
Fantastic.
That's quite fun. I don't feel that old. I'm mainly playing the orchestra, and I teach at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, and I do some sort of freelance sessions and things as well in various studios and places. And yeah, I've got a family, got a wife and 2 kids, an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. And that's one of the reasons how we met was through our kids go to the same school. Well, you knew that, obviously. If there is more than one person listening to this, they might find it interesting.
Maybe 2.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Hello and hello. So they occupy quite a lot of my time as well. I mean, I try to make sure my work kind of fits as much as it can around them, so I can see them as much as possible, because my kids are amazing, and I love spending as much time with them as I can, and that's one of this thing we're going through at the moment, with everyone being at home a bit more. It's been a little bit of a trial, everyone being on top of each other's feet and stuff, but actually it's been brilliant being with the kids, and when we look back
to reconnect,
when we look back in hindsight, I think we'll realise how the benefits of what we've been doing. But I keep things as varied as I can, and I'm lucky enough to do, if luck is the word, I'm lucky enough to be doing something that I really enjoy doing, and I still enjoy doing it. And I really love playing. I really love teaching. I love trying to be nice to people, and getting on with people, and hopefully doing nice things.
That's it, man. Yeah. Good karma. Just good vibes. It's the most important thing. Tell us how did you get into playing the trombone?
Well, I started playing the recorder in primary school from quite a young age, and then played a bit of piano because my sister played the flute, sister played the piano as well. And when I was about 8, my sister was playing in a concert sort of local music centre concert. She'd won the Woodwind Prize. So I went to hear her, and I heard a lad that won the brass prize playing the trombone, Nigel Henshaw, and he, funny enough, is a good friend of my brother, who's 10 years older than me, and they actually sort of worked together for years and years and years.
Does Nigel Henshaw still play? Because his name kind of sounds familiar.
No, he doesn't play for a long time, and now I think it's not Nigel, and he's going to kill me if he hears this. It's not Nick Henshaw, because that sounds a bit too. It's like Nick Hayward. Oh no, no, it's not Nigel.
Right.
Oh, anyway, Henshaw. He's going to kill me. My brother's going to kill me. Anyway, and you can edit that bit out. And my sister was playing flute in this competition, and because she won this competition, and there was a guy playing trombone, and he played a piece called the Acrobat, which is a kind of piece with loads of glissandos, a very silly piece, and I thought that's much more fun than the piano, So I started. Yeah, I asked my parents and begged them for a trombone, and when the trombone that they'd said would be arriving didn't arrive after about 6 months, and I asked where it was, and they said, oh no, he hasn't got it anymore. I cried, burst into tears, and yeah, they realised it was I was really keen. So then they sorted one out, and my dad, who had he grew up in the Salvation Army brass band, so he learnt a lot of the instruments, and in his national service in the 50s up in Hensford in Staffordshire, he worked out that playing in the RAF band was a good sky of getting him out of lots of duties, so he got very active with the band. So he knew his round away a few brass instruments, so he taught me the basic, like how to play a B flat major scale, and that first night with the trombone I just played until my lips fell off, just a B flat major scale over and over again, and it was just the best thing. So from then on, my mum taught me for a little while. She just through the tune a day book. She'd never played any brass instruments, but she took me through a bit. And the speed that I went through the book and just kind of absorbed this tune a day book in about 6 weeks. My mum was like, right, we need to get some proper lessons. So I started having lessons with a local trombone player, Cliff Willard, who was amazing, who amongst other things played in the Pebble Mill Big Band, and I think played in the Orchestra de Camera, but he was a local teacher. And I met people in the profession since then who had played with him as well, which is quite cool. And then at the age of 16, I went to the then principal trombone of the CBSO Orchestra, a city of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra, called Ken Shiffrin, who's an American guy, who taught me some amazing things. Actually, he was a really inspirational teacher. I had no idea sort of context about him or in the profession or anything. I just knew him as a teacher, and he really fired a rocket up my ass and got me even more interested in orchestral playing, because at that point, in my teenage years, I was in school wind band Monday lunchtime, music centre wind band after school on a Monday. I was in county music school on a Thursday night. I was in county youth orchestra on a Friday night. I was in music centre orchestra on every other Saturday morning. I was in Midland Youth Orchestra, which is now the CBSO Youth Orchestra, on every Saturday afternoon. And so I just loved music, and I loved the orchestral sound, and I loved working out my part in the orchestral sound, and how things slotted together, and all that sort of stuff, and it just fascinated me, and so that I just fell in love with the orchestral sound, and I just always wanted to be an orchestral player. I didn't really want to be a soloist. I didn't want to do anything like that. I just wanted to be an orchestral player, so I focused on that one thing. I think when I was about 16, it was like, my aim was my goal that I was really aiming for was I wanted to be a principal trombone of a London orchestra. That was my goal. Yeah. When I started doing auditions when I was after music college, because I went to study at the Guildhall, right, where I now teach. Which I'm very proud of. I was teaching someone else before that, and I was teaching at the Royal Academy of Music for a good few years, and decided to a bit of a change of scene. So now at the Guildhall, and when I finished my studies and I started doing auditions for vacant positions in orchestras, and then started getting trials and playing with all the orchestras, it's like, oh, actually this might happen one day. So when I was 30 years old. I got the job in the LPO, and yeah, been there ever since.
Fantastic, man.
Yeah,
that's great. Living the dream still.
Yeah, I am. I love it.
Yeah.
I really love it as well. It's it's like you know, your sort of sound engineering and stuff, and with your other things that you do, your shed building and
quite busy. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's when you do something you love, it feels less like a chore, doesn't it?
Oh,
less
absolutely,
like a chore.
100%.
Yeah.
Like there's the saying, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. one of my sound engineer mates, he posted a meme the other day, obviously in regards to us not having any work. It's like, if you do the thing that you love, you'll never work a day, and then your life crossed out with 2020 written underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so true.
Yeah. Well, that is the downside of doing what we do, but it'll get better. It'll get better. It has to.
It will.
It has to.
And in the meantime, we just focus on our other strengths, I suppose.
Yeah.
Try and do other things. But you're back teaching now. Yesterday, first day.
Yeah, yesterday was first proper day teaching at the Guildhall new term. It was really nice seeing all the students and having a good razz up with them in the evening. Sort of big blow, doing some amazing pieces. And yeah, it's just nice to meet them all. And actually, it really took me back to student days.
Mm-hmm.
Meeting all these, and what was I like when I when I did that. And on one of the pieces that we played is an arrangement, very silly arrangement of the finale from the Third Symphony of Saint-Saëns, which if your listeners haven't heard it, it's a really good piece. The Organ Symphony it's called. And someone had done an arrangement for 10 trombones, and written on my part there were some names of some people that were at that were studying. One just left when I got there. There's a guy called Bez, and I saw Bez written there, and I saw one of these fourth years that sit next to me, and the thing on his part it said Tony B. And I think that was Tony Bora, and it was so recognising all the people that have actually played these parts, but they might have been
from
exactly from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And funny enough, Dave Stewart, who's the bass player that was also sort of taking the session he was conducting. I try not to conduct because I'm always worried when I'm conducting that I look like an octopus falling out of a tree.
Well, then that means you're doing it right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, Dave Stewart was conducting, and one of the other pieces we played was an arrangement of Autumn Leaves that was actually written. It was written by Scott Stroman, or arranged by Scott Stroman for when he was at Guildhall, which would have been another sort of 15 I'll say 15 years before me.
Right.
And he had all the names on the score who played it as well, and he was like, oh yeah. And it was
wow.
so for both of us that was a trip down memory lane.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right. So you said you played all the way through high school, and then you went and you studied at Guildhall. How old were you when you studied at Guildhall?
So I'd turned 18 the September before. So it was just before my 19th birthday that I moved down to London, and the Guildhall was a place to go because the teacher I wanted to study with, Eric Crease, was there, and I remember my first day at the Guildhall. I was staying with my brother. My brother had a flat in Stoke Newington, and I got the train down to Liverpool Street from Stokey, and then walked to. No, I didn't walk actually. I took the tube because I didn't realise that it was so close to walk. And you just get on tubes for everything when you don't know anything. Yeah. And
go one stop, you get on the tube because you don't know how to get there.
Yeah, I think I took the tube from Liverpool Street to Moorgate, which you can see Moorgate from Liverpool Street. And I remember coming up from the tube, and the first thing that struck me was that.
Oh, I was just there.
Yeah, no. The first thing that struck me was the air. I was like, oh, hang on a minute. Because where I grew up, it was right next to 100 square miles of woodland, of Cannock Chase. And I just realised, oh God, the air's not very good, is it? That was the first thing. And then the next thing was, oh, I'm never going to move home, am I? This is it. I mean, and at the age of 18, realising I'm not going to move home now because I felt my world is here in London. that it's the busiest place for doing what we do for making music and all of that. And I remember being a little bit kind of like, oh, that's a shame, but then, but also like, oh well, that's just how it is, yeah. And yeah, it was fun. I remember it being fun and meeting all these older players and people that really respected. I mean, people like Helen Vollum, who's now principal trombone at the BBC Symphony Orchestra. I remember arriving at Guildhall and thinking, wow, I really hope one day I'm as good as that. That was amazing. Hearing her play, like wow. And that whole student, way through student life. So in the second year, in the first year, start arriving, and it's like, well, I still want to be as good as Helen and there's older cats and people that had left before, like people like Graham Lee, who was a superhero at the time. So I really want to be as good as that. But then, right, and I'm a little bit better now than when I was in the first year. So
your progression.
Yeah. But then, so it was in the first years coming through, and not in a negative way, but it's like, well, I want to make sure that I stay better than that, and because I think in our industry you've got to have a realistic opinion of where you are in the food chain and how good you are, because if you realise that that you're maybe not as you're not as capable at doing certain things as other people, you should really focus on things that you can do, or make sure you make them better.
Exactly.
But you have to have an idea of where you slot in, 'cause it drives you, and I'm a little bit sort of like, I need to make sure I'm keep on going, so all the way through studying I just strive to be as good as I can.
Well,
and practice.
That's just a lesson for life.
Well,
just always strive to be better.
Yeah.
Be better than the you of yesterday.
Yeah.
that would be the most healthy competition that you can ever have.
Yeah, and that's a really yes. I will nick that for my students.
Yeah. No, man, absolutely. It's just you can. I think competition is a good thing, but some people, I don't know, maybe not so good. They can't handle it. So in order to to be the best you, I think is to always just check that first competition first. Make sure that you're better than you of yesterday. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, it can even just be smiling once more than you did yesterday, or something stupid, right?
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
If you can just be better than that guy, then you're winning at life, because everybody's circumstances are so different. It's really a roll of the dice, who you are, where you're from, because you're born into a situation that's unique to you, and every opportunity that you have and every sort of hurdle that you get in your way is also unique to you. So if you compare yourself to somebody, say even your same age, somebody on the same course that you are or whatever, and you're like, oh, but this guy, he's a little bit further ahead, why can't I be there? The best thing to do is to maybe have a look at what they do, if they're doing something different than you, and then also knowing and understanding that their set of circumstances are different than yours. Maybe they had more opportunities, maybe they had financial backing, maybe they had musical parents, maybe they started a little bit younger, all these sorts of things. It's got to be factored into your self-assessment and your judgment and your sort of where you are in the competition with others. Obviously, strive to be better, strive to be on the same level. Is it Miles Davis that said, always be the worst player in the band? Or was it him? I don't know if it was him. I always fuck that up. Anyway, but, yes, try and play up, learn, grow, but don't beat yourself up. Oh, but this one, look at where they are and I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Because all that's going to do is place another hurdle.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to keep looking sideways.
Yeah.
Instead of going forwards. Right?
Yeah.
And if you're looking sideways and backwards, like the me of yesterday all the time, it's like, and then you lose focus on the goal, and you can even lose the steam and the energy, and it can take things out.
Yeah. So
if you handle competition in a healthy way, in a good way, then it's a good thing. And then, but obviously we're all different. So some people benefit from competition, others don't. Yeah,
well, to go back on what you're saying about the people from different circumstances, that's really really hits home when teaching as well, because when people come to me, and they generally come to me from the age of 18, 19, and people study with me sometimes till their sort of mid-late 20s. And they're all travelling at different speeds. They're all coming from different setups, and because there were some specialist music schools that kids go to from a young age, and they sort of boarding, sort of staying away and stuff. And I had an incident a few years ago with a fantastic player that I don't teach many pre-music college age kids, but this lad's mum was very insistent, and actually we're friends. She's very nice, but and he studied with me, and he when he auditioned for music college, he didn't have the experience that loads of people have been to these music colleges and music schools before music college,
and also like bands and stuff.
He had some experience with local orchestra, but it wasn't so much sort of music, and he proved to himself, over the last few years, that it doesn't matter. That, the things that he had, the really good solid technique and good knowledge of music and phrasing and stuff. He's learned, he bolted everything else on, but he started coming from a position of, I'm behind here, I've got to catch up, I'm playing catch up, and he used it as a positive thing.
Motivation.
Like motivation thing. So I suppose that idea of motivation and competition, they're both kind of blur into each other a little bit. I suppose, don't they?
100%. But I think it depends on the individual and how they react towards it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because competition for competition's sake is rubbish. It's a waste of time. Saying that, my mum put me into the Burton Competitive Music Festival when I was 13, and I'd win the 13 under, the 15 under, and the 18 under, and come home with big certificates and go woohoo, and that would make me go, oh, actually I'm quite good at the trombone, and would keep me practicing. So maybe not
positive
all
reinforcement.
Yeah,
positive. No, I'm not saying competition is a bad thing in any way. No. I'm saying it's a good thing.
Yeah, but it's a good thing, but it has to be done in the right way, isn't it? Because like what you were saying before, if it's like, oh, why can't I be better than him? Well, just by the way that you're asking that question means that you're not thinking about improving yourself. You're just it's like you're just beating yourself up. And going, oh God, he's look at him, or he's lucky. Oh, well, no.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think these sorts of things is, as parents, is an important thing to impart on your kids, and share with them. Say yes, and you're not always going to win.
No.
You're not always going to come first. Sometimes you're going to come last.
Yeah, and
that's okay.
My mum said an amazing thing to me before I went to music college. Before I went to Guildhall, she said, You're a very confident person. She said, don't let people use your confidence against you, and don't let them turn it into arrogance. Be confident, but don't let other people turn it into arrogance. And that was I think that was just enough to wind in just a bit of the ultra confident me, so that it pissed a fewer people off. I said only a few, fewer, but and that
2 more likes.
Yeah. So yeah.
No, absolutely, man. It's the podcast that just come out today with my mate Dylan Akers. We were talking about that because I'd gone over this. In this whole thing that we've been going through and all that, there seems to be
the coronavirus for anyone that's listening to this in years to come.
Aggression and arrogance, which has sort of surfaced a little bit, and I kind of just thought that's probably the base of all of the biggest problems that we have in the world is just arrogance. If people can just be a little bit more humble sometimes, or just listen instead of talking, or not talking at someone but talking with, having a conversation.
Yeah,
a lot of things can be sorted out.
Definitely.
But if a person is arrogant and they don't want to hear it, they know the best and all that, it creates animosity.
Well, yeah, obviously. and no one wants to be around arrogant people. Well, unless they're a multi-millionaire and you need them to pay your mortgage. But people don't want to work on a level with people who are out and out arrogant. And doing what I do as a musician, I think there has to be a little bit of arrogance in as a tool to sometimes use. Like, for instance, I know at the back of the orchestra, my orchestra has a residency at the Glyndebourne Opera Festival, and so which means in the summer months normally we're in the pit underneath the stage, and there's a big solid wall right behind me, and there's a the stage is like there, so it gets very insular, and the sound is all in, and it's really hard work, and you hear funny tuning notes going round and stuff, and I try to adapt to what's going on, and if I'm sounding a bit high to something, I'll bring it down a bit low. But obviously there must be the occasional time when I'm actually in tune and someone else is wrong. There has to be. I mean, just by averages, and so there's those times when it's like, no, actually, I'm confident that from what's happening on stage and the singers, or what they're doing over there, this is right, and no, I'm in this chord, I'm gonna stick to this note, and then hear someone else sort of changing their pitch and tuning in. So there are sometimes as a musician that you do have to hold your own and go, that quick sum.
Yeah, but that's not arrogance. That's confidence.
Yeah, but I think it's a little, it's got a little sprinkling of that arrogance in the way that you are saying, no, sorry, for these few seconds, it's still a second decision, but for these few seconds, no, I'm right.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm right.
Yeah.
We can debate it, but then the moment's gone, but I'm right. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's going out live.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no take two.
Yeah,
There's no take two.
And it's like, so
that's what I love about the live environment, man.
Yeah.
When I went to study, my whole aim was to become a studio engineer. But I'd started working even before I finished college with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra, and I just fell into the live gig.
What year was that, by the way?
December 2007.
Okay. Do any brass players in it, names that you remember from the time when you started?
Plenty of them. Yeah, I mean, Callum Howe was there.
Yeah.
Alex Maynard was there. Henry L. McJennings were there. Ruben Fowler was there, trumpet player. A whole what's that? He wasn't there yet. Who else was there? There were a few. John Russell. He was the guitarist. Yeah.
And you started working with them.
Yeah, started working with them. And yeah, I just fell into the live thing, and ever since. For me, I like the immediacy of it, and I like the pressure of it.
Yeah.
Because I always view my position, because I'm a freelancer, right? And it doesn't matter the track record that you have. You know how it goes as a freelancer. You're only as good as your last gig.
Yep.
And mistakes can be made, fair enough, and these things will be forgiven if it doesn't happen too often, right? So I always view every gig as an audition for my job, right? So yeah, I enjoy the immediacy of a live gig, and I enjoy the there is a bit of pressure, but it's a test on myself every day, and it's like, you still know how to do it, and when the job's well done, it's like, well done, you still got it, it's still working, it's fine, victory for today, and then let's see what tomorrow brings.
Yeah.
Not to get complacent, because the places where I work is, I'm super fortunate to be there.
Yeah.
But the whole point was just the live thing for me is more of it's just got more appeal, really.
Yeah.
Than going in and sitting down and getting it right and then doing take 2 and 3 and 479, and it's just like.
Well, I think when things are live, this is something that's hit me over the last few months. When everyone was in lockdown and all the thousands of millions of musicians all around the world basically stopped being able to do what they love, sort of performing. And I think the sort of people that were in two camps. There were people that kind of missed an audience to play to, so they missed having an audience. So by recording things and people watching it and on social media and stuff, and they see how many likes and stuff, it's like, oh wow, that gives them some validation, which there's nothing wrong with that.
A little dopamine hit.
Yeah, you what?
A little dopamine hit.
Exactly, yeah. And then there are other people that it's more the kind of the performing aspect and the two-way thing of it being a shared musical experience with the audience, and that's something that's hit me more, is that actually. For me, it does feel like it's a two-way thing. It's not me playing at an audience. It's actually I get something back, and we can see their faces, and it's not just the applause. It's when there's the silence, or it's when
that actually speaks louder, doesn't it? If somebody's like intently listening.
Yeah. It's magical, and I mean I was listening to. I put on a recording of my orchestra playing Brahms symphonies with Vladimir Yarovsky, because one of the things that I've been doing just to exercise that part of my brain is actually just playing along to recordings, because I realised by not playing in orchestras, there's basically classical music missing from my life and from my world. And I didn't realise for a long time in lockdown that actually there's one thing that was making me sad. I just didn't, because I don't really listen to lots of classical music at home for fun, because I do it for fun at work for 6 hours, sometimes 9 hours a day. So it's not naysaying. I love classical music, but it's just I want something else when I come home. So I started playing along to classical music, and we're playing Brahms 1. Oh no, it's Brahms 2. I can't remember which one, Brahms 1 2. And both these recordings were live recordings that the LPO did, and some of those older ones on the LPO live label have got, actually they didn't cut the applause out at the end. They just left the applause on, and I wish they'd do that more with the recordings, because hear it in, and I wasn't expecting it, and so I was playing along. Playing this end. Oh, this great ending. There's Brahms 1, Brahms 2, both fantastic endings. And all of a sudden there's applause coming through my headphones while I'm playing. It was, and it actually brought a tear to my eye. It was just, oh my god, because I wasn't expecting it at all. And it was like it was a really, I'm not a religious person at all, but it was a really emotional experience. And so is that going against what I just said about actually it was just the applause that I liked. It wasn't the applause. It was it's
that feeling, and the almost like, I suppose you could close your eyes and relive hundreds of moments before that that was, and get that little bump.
Oh yeah. There's and then it just reminded me of we were once playing. I'm not sure if it was a symphony by Walton or Vaughan Williams. Chopper will tell me. But we were recording this piece, and it went live on Radio 3, and it went out on our label. Basically, Simon Carrington, our timpani player, most amazing timpani player, one of the finest musicians I know actually, and he just plays the drums. Funny. The very last hit on this symphony, he actually smashed the end off his timp stick.
Oh.
Yeah, bam! But it snapped off and bounced up in the air like that. And he noticed straight away. And in that silence, when bam, the silence before the applause starts, which can be anything from 3 to 4 or 5 seconds, or whatever. Just before the applause starts on the original broadcast about the BBC, it was doink. And it came over so beautifully well. Brilliant. It was amazing.
Brilliant.
Little
happy accident.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Brilliant. Oh yeah. So you were studying at the Guildhall. What was that? A 3-year degree, 4 years? What sort of qualification did you go? And you went classical from the get go?
Yeah, it was a 4-year course. they'd just started. It just started being a degree course, so it actually gets kind of is moderated the word moderated by one of the universities. Can't remember which university. So make it a proper degree course, and yeah, I mean you had to choose. You chose your specification because I mean a jazz. They hadn't. I think actually when I started was the first year of the undergraduate jazz course.
Great.
As well, that they'd started at the Guildhall, and so. But because they'd just started the undergraduate band, there was a postgraduate jazz course, so that Scott Stroman organised, and because he was head of jazz at the time. And on my very first day at the Guildhall, I bumped into Scott Stroman as I was coming in. I didn't know who he was. It was just a dude with a dude with a trombone on his back, and I had a trombone on my back, and he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, he's from America, and I was like, "Oh yeah, hi, you know, my first day is wow, cool, yeah, nice one, you know," and I said to him, I said, "Oh, what year were you in?" And he went, "I'm head of jazz." Oh, cool.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah, and then no, he's really sweet. And then he said, "Hey, what are you doing later? What you come play in the big band?" And because they didn't have enough trombone players on the postgrad course, they relied on trombone players from the straighties,
yes,
the classical side. They needed that to bolster up the troops. So right from the beginning of my first year, I mean, I'd done it, I'd done a little bit of like trad jazz and things, but not and zero education in jazz, like at all. And playing with these guys, these postgrads, there's a trombonist called Liam Curtin, who funny enough, I did a session with a few weeks ago, and he was there, and my mate Barnaby Dickinson.
Oh, I love Barnaby. Yeah. He's such a lovely man.
We were in the same year at Guildhall.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And so I go along with Barnaby, and I mean, first of all, I learned how to reading really hard charts, and a lot of this it was sort of, I don't know, Scandinavian power jazz, you know, with really hard chords, keys, and time signatures, and really hard work. But doing that, but then also doing some went to like a high school and did like a bit of a workshop type thing with a high school. So with them, kind of actually when we did demonstrations about guide tones and all that sort of stuff in 12-bar blues and things, I was learning. And all the time, I didn't realise until years later. All the time, sort of just playing and hanging out with like really good bass players and playing with really good bass players and sort of and drummers and jazz players that really know the feel. You know, I kind of just learned what was a good feel, and Scotty said it was in the pocket. You know, what's in the pocket. You know, and just learning when to sit back, when to put it on, when to lay it late, and all that stuff helps in the orchestra world as well. Yeah. But it just means that a
lot of swing and a lot of
yeah.
I suppose classical music doesn't swing so much, does it?
Well, if you've got a classically trained string section, it will sometimes swing like a statue's penis.
Okay.
But that's
so not at all.
Yeah.
Unless you're broken off by the Catholic Church.
Exactly. But there's an element of there's some things that we do that need a bit of swing. And sometimes my orchestra will sort of bring in sort of lead trumpet players and stuff who really sort of nail it. And when you bring in a guy like that, it changes the way the whole bass section plays, because we've got someone who lives it all the time. And even if sort of members of a symphony orchestra don't play jazz, most of us have got a kind of an idea of how to follow and how to listen and how to copy and emulate. And so I guess I kind of enjoy doing that. I mean, in the same way as all the different types of classical music, I suppose it's just a similar thing. But yeah, the stuff with the postgrad big band at the Guildhall, I think it really just helped me have a bit of confidence so that I wasn't going to be the worst at swing if I've got to do it. And then and we did learn how to read sort of changes a little bit, and but I also from living with Barnaby Dickinson, we lived together for 3 years from our second year at Sunnydale Court, and then we lived in New Cross as well for a few years. We did study together, and when we did we both entered the brass prize in our third year or fourth year. I'm not sure. I can't remember which. Might have been I can't remember. We both like played our programs to each other. So he would kind of give me some useful criticism on my repertoire, and I would just listen to him and go, "Wow, that's amazing." But hearing how he got his vocabulary, and anyone that knows Barnaby Dickinson's playing, his vocabulary is just the most incredible. It's an amazing sort of language that he uses, very different to lots of people, and I know that I'm sure most sort of really good jazz trombone players sort of work like this, but he would. He had a little gizmo that he'd plug into his Discman. For those who don't know, it's a little portable CD player. For those who don't know what CDs are, they were small LPs. And he had his little Discman. He had this module that plugged into his Discman, and he could basically he could pause the CD, but basically hold it on a chord. And this little thing, it's just sort of looping whatever chord has been playing, and from that he could transcribe what the harmonies were, top to bottom.
Right.
So he transcribed the harmonies, and he could also, if someone was doing a burn-in solo, he could transcribe the solo, work out exactly what chords are underneath it, and then go back and go, right, I need if I want a good lick for this chord progression, what have I got? And so he'd work out a little lick for this chord progression, and then practice it in every key. So then he knew that when it came to this little whatever piece, if these changes are in it, the memory bank goes quickly to got that goes in there, and seeing how a jazz musician like Barnaby would build up his skills and build up his chops like that, and he was just absolutely fascinating, and it gave me such a respect for the jazzers that, like, if everyone says, "Do you play jazz?" I say, "No, I don't." But I wish. I can kind of follow and hopefully not stick out like a sore thumb. But the way he approached, that way of playing and the chops that he needed was
surgical.
Yeah, surgical. But that's the way I approached learning orchestral excerpts, because in our business you learn when you're studying little clips of orchestral pieces that basically when you do an audition for an orchestra, they send you a list saying we will. Back in the day, they just send you a list and say you will be asked to play extracts from Bruckner 7, Hungarian March Damnation of Faust, Ravel's Bolero, Mahler 3, Mahler 2, Strauss till Eulenspiegel, and Heldenleben, alto trombone Beethoven 9. Are we still running?
It's still going.
Are we still going?
Yes.
Are you sure?
It seems like it for now. I don't know where the transport window in. Yeah, it's still recording, so we're good.
So you play all these pieces, and you learn them all, and my second teacher, I don't know if I mentioned him, Ken Schifrin, who kind of who taught me after Cliff Willard. He we got me down the orchestral excerpt sort of route, and because the Americans they studied them a slightly different way, but I always learnt them in the context of where they were going to be and how they're going to be played, and but there's a slightly different way. There were some people that learned all their orchestral excerpts in order to pass the orchestral excerpt exam that year, or they learn their orchestral excerpts knowing that at one point they're going to do them in an audition. Mm-hmm. But the way that I learnt my orchestral excerpts was in my head. I wasn't learning them just to pass auditions. I was learning them because I thought, well, one day I'm going to play these, yeah. and one day the phone might go last minute, and can you do that? And even if I've only played like a few little bits of it, but I didn't, I would sort of get whole parts and things on occasion, not all the time. I'm not going to big myself up and say I was that good, but I would learn them, think with an eye of what sound would I make if I was doing it on stage with an orchestra. So that meant that when I did do auditions, and I was auditioning, I had that whole sound in my head of what I wanted to do. So I try and tell my students when they're going in for for jobs, you're not going in and jumping through their hoops. You're going in, and you should go in and say, this is how I'll play. When you give me a gig, this is what you'll get when you call me.
Yeah, visualization.
And it's just a very slightly different way of looking at it, because it's looking at it as a live, real thing rather than just a sterile. Oh, I've just got to do that to tick that box. And then to go back to that, the two worlds colliding, where jazz and orchestral. So I was at the age of, how old would I have been? Maybe 21, 22, and I'd done a few auditions already. And I did an audition for the London Philharmonic Orchestra. And in the first round in the morning, all the excerpts that were sent out, and then got through to the afternoon for the second stage. And Bob Hughes, the bass player at the time, he's a lovely, lovely man. He came wandering over. He's like, no, Mark. We sometimes have to play something a little bit lighter, a little bit more on the lighter side. So have a look at this. Have a look through. Take your time. And you can the changes are there.
You like the changes?
Yeah.
Tell me now what the changes are, so I can put them in.
Yeah. Sing them to me. And I said, but you can sort of try and put what's on the page. But if you want to be a bit loose with it, that's fine. Just have some fun. And for me, it's like, oh God, no.
What have I done?
And then I opened my eyes and looked, and it said. I reckon it said polka dots at the top.
Mark is a cunt.
My kids could be listening to it. And it said at the top when he put the music down, it said polka dots, and instantly I was like, oh yes,
I know this one,
because polka dots and moonbeams was one of the pieces that Barnaby Dickinson had worked on for the brass prize 3 years before.
So you knew it.
So I knew it inside out from how he played it as well. And I didn't even I just glanced at the page to make sure it was in the same key. And because I'd heard Barnaby play it a million times in the room next to me, and so I just looked at it, made sure it was the right key. Just closed my eyes, because on the page it's like, and I was like, closed my eyes and was like, right, how do I do it? So,
didn't even read the dots. You probably just played it all from memory.
Carrying on going. It was like, yeah, I can have fun with this, yay! They offered me a trial with the orchestra, and then I played sort of on and off with the orchestra for 3 years until Dudley Bright, who was principal at the Philharmonia, he got a job, and then sort of did a few more years playing with them. There was another job going, but I was as part of my freelancing stuff. That was one of the things I did, was going to play with them. And I remember Bob Hughes, like after when I'd been playing in, after I'd sort of passed the audition and I was trialing, he said to me, "Oh, so your audition was going really well until you played Polka Dots and Moonbeams." He said, "But when you played that, it's like that was the icing on the cake. There's no way we couldn't have given you a trial after that. Brilliant. It was amazing."
And then you come in for the trial and you just fuck it all up.
No, but I fessed up and said, yeah, I wasn't sight reading. I told him the story, and he swore very loud at me, because he was like,
yeah.
But hey, so going back to what you're saying about experiences, molding sort of what you do, and we talk about the competition and the aspect and stuff, and what different things people have done in their lives. I mean, me spending days and days and days listening to my mate, and him spending days and days listening to me, and that kind of shared experience of being interested in what other people are doing. I must have been interested in what Barnaby was doing, and I must have liked it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have memorised it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have gone. It wouldn't have gone in. So it's just little things like that. You know, what if the other guy that was auditioning after me had never heard of that tune?
Yeah.
And you know, and it was a choice between me and this other dude. Well, you know, I might not have been a better trombone player. It's just I'd had a different experience from the other guy.
Yeah,
so,
and it's helped you along, and
yeah,
maybe in a parallel universe, he would have had that experience. He's Barnaby's mate, and you're.
Well, yeah.
He's sitting right here, right now.
He was Barnaby was very funny. I met him on my first week at the Guildhall. We kind of hooked up because we neither of us had gone to specialist music school. Neither of us had played in the National Youth Orchestra. You know, because there were a few kind of cliques, which are natural. Yeah, they're normal. Anyway, people that know each other and we were in neither of them. And he just came over to me and was like, and then he reminded me. He went, we've met before, haven't we? I was like, have we? He went, yeah. You were after me at the audition for the Royal Northern, and I was like, oh yeah, are you the dude that said I've warmed them up for you, mate? He's like, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's funny how people you bump into people. I think that's that you bump into people from different bits of life and stuff, and you do remember when people have been kind of not kind, or when people haven't been helpful, or when people haven't been happy and things. And then if you meet these people and all of a sudden they need something or want something from you, it's really hard to just go, oh yeah, as if nothing's happened, isn't it? It's you know,
there's baggage.
Yeah, there's baggage. I mean, of course you dismiss people that have done horrible things, but you know, you're obviously going to be more helpful to people, you know, who've just been nice to you and you know, and things.
It's nice being nice.
It is nice being nice. I don't understand why some people aren't. I mean, let's not go there.
Some people are just miserable.
Yeah,
just miserable. I mean, I personally have had encounters and worked with people who usually successful people. But just miserable as fuck, mate.
Yeah.
Names shall not be named, but yeah, I mean, there's one guy who I now just I won't even speak to him. Yeah, as in a professional capacity, I will do my job always, but just had too many bad run-ins with him. Very famous Hammond organ player, very, very, very famous, and miserable as hell.
Yeah.
We had once, he was playing a New Year's gig at Ronnie's, and we were setting things up, and he'd just come out the hospital. He had something with his heart, so we didn't know whether the show was going to happen or not. Everybody's like just sort of like carrying him on pillows a little bit. You know, obviously there's a lot riding on it. Sold out show for New Year's Eve and all that. And I'm in the back getting some stuff, and I hear this bump, and I walk over outside, and he's hunched over. He's like, "Oh," I said, "Is everything okay? Are you all right? What? I heard a bump. Did you stub your toe? Did you hit your?" Like, "Oh," he's not responding to me at all. I'm like, hey man, can I help you? Is there something I can do for you?
Is this but you've already got baggage with this fella by now, and you're already.
All right, yeah, all right.
Okay, fine.
You know, but you know, I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah.
And again, he ignores me, and I'm like, listen, if you need a Band-Aid or something, I can go get Band-Aids. If you want some ice, let me know what happened, because I heard a thump. It's like, oh, just fuck off, little man, leave me alone. I'm like, okay, so. That'd be the end of that. From now on, if you need anything, ask anyone else. Anyone else.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Well, we get conductors. We get conductors coming in. You know that are like that, and you get some soloists as well. Most of them are nice, but you get some in, and there were conductors that you can work with, and there were conductors that feel that they're part of the process, which is my feeling on with orchestras and conductors and stuff, because what does a conductor do at the end of the day? I mean, most
keeps tempo.
Well,
waves his hands around.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen? Have you been to Classic FM's Guide to the Orchestra? A Normal Person's Guide to the Orchestra. It's called. You've not seen that? It's like, so you play the slidey fart horn.
Oh, nice.
The trumpet's the squeaky cheek exploder.
Nice.
Saxophone's the bendy sex whistle.
Oh, nice. Oh,
right? And right at the end, there's the conductor, Captain Flappy. So we used to do when we did like the proms and stuff at the Royal Albert Hall, and we're on the radios. We're like, so Captain Flappy would like a little more, some more of the screech planks in his monitor, and then. And then some of those thwack pots up there, and then the naked piano, please. Nice.
Is that the harp? Yeah. Well, you get. I'm say what the conductors do, being slightly flippant, because what the good conductors kind of are like, they're like good managers. They identify where the skill sets are. And they bring everyone together, and they nudge things in the right direction, but they don't take people out of their comfort zone, and they get a really good performance out of a bunch of musicians. And then the real sort of genius is the kind of Simon Rattles and the Claudio Abbados, Bernard Haitink and the like. Are the ones that then they bring something special, because everyone wants to make the best sound for them. Everyone wants to play together for them. Everyone wants to be absolutely, because they so respect them so much. And then you get at the other end of the scale, you get the conductors that basically want to tell you everything to do, and they want it, and rather than sort of telling you what musical effect they'd like, they're trying to tell you actually how to play your instrument. You know, can you tongue that harder? Well, what do you mean by that, maestro? You know, and already, my colleagues around me were like, Tempo, just smile and nod. You know, because
don't ask questions.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, there's a feeling that some of the conductors, say the not very good ones, that they arrive with their score, and written in their score is, tell the trombones to play like this. Tell the trumpets to play like that. Tell the oboes to play. So they won't. Then, so first of all, they're not listening, and after years of studying and playing with lots of different conductors and the best conductors, you, as an orchestral musician, you find ways that actually work to play things, and things that work relative to what the composer has asked for. Because in the day, the composer is the king. Whoever's written the music, he's the king, and you find ways of playing things. And if a conductor comes in and doesn't listen to what you've done, and so you play and they say, trombones, can you play that really short? What shorter than we just did? Okay. And when and it's just disrespectful, and it comes back around to the other thing. If they're not listening, and they're not respecting, the fact that they're being paid 50 times more than me, is slightly upsetting. When someone is amazing and on the box and they're being paid 50 times,
you deserve that.
You deserve that, because the millions of people that you've made happy. That's fair enough. But there is an I don't know how we got onto conductors. It's working with people you might not like. getting on with people. That was it. And being nice,
being professional,
being nice.
Yeah. Sometimes killing them with kindness is the best thing. But then in the case of this person, it's just there's just no saving.
I had one with like that. It was in Paris, and I was with an orchestra that was doing a joint project, and we were recording. It was a French orchestra, and with the Marlowe Chamber Orchestra, and we were recording what was it? Berlioz Symphonie Fantastique. And it got there's this one section where the violins, if that's the pulse, the violins have got beep 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 beep, and we come in beep 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 ba 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 beep, like dead on. And this conductor kept on going and putting in a massive big like that. A really big, because he couldn't handle the syncopation in the violins. And every time we were coming in, we were coming in with them. But of course, then someone looks up and changes. So all of a sudden it goes, and it went wrong a few times. And he was like, no, we must do it again. And
Was it French?
That was my Welsh accent. Yeah. And he and it kept on going wrong. And at one point I'd said something like, would you like us to go with the violins or with you, because we're getting kind of mixed signals here, which is very veiled, kind of, you're messing this up, mate. Mm-hmm. He's like, no, everyone should go with me. You should go with the pulse. You should go with the beat. I was like, okay, fine. So we did it again. It went wrong again. And he's like, why can you not follow my beat? Okay, fine, yeah. So it went wrong again. It's been recorded. We did it for recording as well. It's like, again, went wrong. Went again. Went wrong. And the last time it went wrong, I just took my trombone down and just dropped my head and just shook. I just, because otherwise I was going to go mental. It was like, just breathe. I just dropped my head and just went like that. And looked up, and he was dead-eyeing me. He's like, why are you shaking your head at me? Do not shake your head at me. This is not where you do not shake your head at me. And that's when I went, I'm terribly sorry, Maestro. I was shaking my head at myself because I went wrong yet again. I'm very sorry. Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
And it's that, can't do anything. And that's setting that reminded me. And the same man, it was being recorded for dress rehearsal and 2 performances, I think. And for the dress rehearsal, I'd been to see him, because we don't play in the first few movements of the piece. I said, are you running it? Because there was going to be an audience in. They sold tickets for the dress rehearsal anyway. And there was an audience in. And I said, will you be running the piece as a performance? Or will you be recording it? And because we're not in for the first 40 minutes. So we were over the bar over the road, having just a couple of drinks, and we were like, well, we've probably got about another half an hour. The phone went.
Mm-hmm. Where are you?
Tempo. My mate was on stage. Tempo, where are you? Well, we're over the road at the bar. So, the maestro wants you here. Well, yeah, but he told me that we weren't needed. No, he's not going to start until you're here. But he told me we weren't needed. Yeah, but he's not going to start. Okay. So we paid up and ran over. We were there about 7 or 8 minutes after it was meant to have started, and we walked on stage to a kind of a mock applause like that. Okay. And then he walked
from him.
Oh no, yeah.
Slow clap.
No, it's audience. It was like, oh ha, you messed it up, ha ha. And then we sat on stage, and then he got to the end of the first movement, and then went back and started rehearsing it. And
he just wanted you to sit there.
Oh yeah, he just wanted us to sit there. He just wanted us to sit there and do nothing. And it's deliberate, like, how dare you speak back at me? How dare you shake your head at me? Right, I'm going to do that. And of course we ran back from the bar.
So petty.
Oh yeah, and we hadn't been to the loo either. So
now he's sitting there.
Yeah, so I was sitting there with a couple of pints inside a full bladder for like 40 minutes. And I tell you what, when we did play, he got both barrels on my small. I had a small, for those interested. It was a small Boozy & Co. kind of 1910 pea shooter that absolutely blew it straight at him. And one of my Dudley Bright, who I mentioned, he was principal at the Philharmonic and then the London Symphony Orchestra. When I was in with the LSO a little time after that, he said, Mark, did you play on that recording of Symphonie Fantastique? And he mentioned the orchestra and all that. I was like, yeah. He said,
I heard you.
He said.
In fact, I only heard you. There was no orchestra.
He said, it sounded like the trombones were letting you play quite loud, though, weren't you? And I thought, yeah, we were on these small instruments as well. But actually, now in hindsight, I'm thinking, yeah, maybe there was a little bit of extra venom in that because of him. Mm. So yes,
it's a shame how somebody can take a well-oiled machine and just throw some fucking sand in there.
Oh yeah.
And the whole thing, it just grinds to a halt or just breaks apart. It is a shame, Sometimes I've seen and experienced that with managers, who have had some sort of small to medium sort of success, like basically choosing the right artist and just being, almost at the right place at the right time, and then they kind of ride on a wave. Oh, I was that guy's, and they can take something that's working, and it just goes slow decline into the abyss, and then this guy will just jump ship, and then 18 months of your life is down the drain because this and that. Unfortunately, that happens. So, but then, you get I've always experienced the most talented people to be the most humble as well. Just that, again, coming back to confidence, without being arrogant, because you can have confidence and be a nice person. You can know what you're talking about and say it very eloquently and say it very clearly, without any this is fact. What I'm giving you.
Yeah.
There's no. I'm not even doubting myself. This is fact right here. But saying it in a nice way.
one of the nicest people in the business happens to be one of my colleagues, a tuba player in our orchestra, Lee Sumartless, and he says that he tells students, he says, play cocky, but talk humble.
Love that.
And it makes so much sense. You can do it with your chops, do it with the skills that you've got, do it with the music you're making. It's like make everyone sit up, but you don't talk like that.
Well, I mean, Callum Howe's a good example of that, right?
Yeah. I don't think I've met him actually. We've worked on his arrangements with sort of email correspondence and stuff. But
he's such a humble, down to earth, soft spoken guy. Always good manners. Always.
Well, that proves the rule about being a good musician, because his arrangements are amazing.
Yeah. It's brilliant. Yeah, no, I mean, I think he was maybe 14 or 15 when I started working with Nigel.
You're not that old, surely.
36. I'm not that old. I'm all right. A lot of grey here, but that's just a gravel road, Long nights and early mornings.
Yeah.
That's life.
That's your life, man.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy it. I do. Although, it's hard to see it coming back anytime soon. But whenever it does, hopefully we'll just fall back into it.
But don't you think? Do you think that it's going to be that it'll be new though? It will be. I mean, the way that the whole society has changed. I mean, for the bad in lots of ways. But when we do come out of the thing, and as a cure or what's it? Not a cure. A jab for it, or whatever, and things start up, and let's say in a year's time from now, people are going to see gigs and stuff. I think everyone going to gigs, everyone looking at what gigs they're going to go to, everyone when they're at the gig, everyone from the top to bottom is going to experience it in a very, very different way, because no one's ever been deprived of it before. When you can't go out. Well, apart from when you're 15, you've never been told you can't go and see that band. You've never been told you can't go and listen to that. And the difference between live, because of everyone having to experience these things electronically and from a remove. I mean, it's fantastic seeing things and getting a dose and getting a sense of what it is. But when it gets back to live, everyone's going to go mental. A
new appreciation.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Because my orchestra, a little plug. We're going to be We're recording concerts from the Royal Festival Hall stage, and they're going to be streamed every Wednesday night between now and Christmas. So we've actually got a proper season, and we're in the fortunate position that I'm in, being a regular member of a band. So we've got Beethoven 5 starting next week, and we've got some Messiaen, and there's some really nice stuff being programmed that we're going to broadcast. And it isn't a replacement for live, but when people start seeing those concerts, it'll hopefully make people realise that that's what we will have again, and it'll remind people of what they have had, and it'll keep people's interest and keep people excited in live music. But I don't think they need to. I think people are really still really excited, and people are desperate for that sound. And playing yesterday, when I was just playing in the Guildhall, we couldn't have all the trombone players in one room because there's not the space, and with the social distancing and stuff that we have to adhere to, rightly so, in to try and limit what happens. We couldn't have everyone, so we had to have 2 sessions with half the trombones there and half the trombones there. Right. But playing with them live was was just awesome. It was amazing. And then to hear also at the Guildhall, they've spent the time when it's been empty of the students and staff. They've fitted in a low latency system across the Guildhall in lots of rooms, so they can actually have full rehearsals with the brass in one room, the woodwind in another, the strings in another. So each pocket is still making live music with people in the room, but then putting that together with pocket, and it's, I don't know if any of the other conservatoires are doing it.
That's fucking amazing.
It is amazing.
That's fantastic. That's really good.
Yeah. So different. I mean, different buildings.
So they would be. Would there be an audience in each pocket as well?
No.
Okay.
No.
We're talking about just rehearsals and
yes.
Okay.
Yes, but I'm.
Do you reckon you can do gigs like that?
Well, I'm presuming. Well, I think they plan to stream it. I think they plan to stream
Get
it.
a live vision mixer and just mix it in, or you can even just have a. Man, you can really go.
Are your hair standing on just thinking about it?
Fantastic. You can have moving cameras in each room. You can have solo spots, and you can get there's a crew of 10 people you can employ, or if not more. Yeah. My mate Shahan has a mobile broadcasting thing. He's just set up Streamsy, right. And he did one the other day with Ray Gelato at the 100 Club. Went really well. Sold a bunch of tickets, and maybe that's it's it. Maybe it's a thing. Well, I gotta finish this fucking mobile podcast studio that I've started creating, because I bought that flight case because sometimes people can't come here. Yeah. And before this whole situation, I'd sometimes go and see somebody there, because I prefer doing it in person. Yeah. Rather than doing it via Zoom or something. Now in this time I've done a few, but I've it stopped being fun. So I kind of stopped doing it because I didn't really want to do it via Zoom, even though the work involved is so much less. Yeah. I tell you what, man, getting back into the video editing and stuff, because I don't edit the audio. Our conversation is what it is, right? It's just, editing between the cameras, like when you're talking, it faces you, and when we're going at it, then we'll get the room camera.
I can say some words now that you definitely have to edit out, but I won't.
I won't anyway, because you heard me. I talk like a sailor, man. Yeah, but I mean that is a great sort of potential. I wanted to call it something I've been sort of thinking about is in terms of this whole situation where theaters are going under and production houses are going under and events companies are all going under,
artist management company, big one, Columbia Artists went down,
Mate, one of the companies I do regular work for, they're not huge, but they're sort of big. They're 25 permanent staff and hundreds of freelancers. They had to make redundant their staff, and I saw a video the other day, Energy Earth, which is a massive company. They're sort of nipping at the they're not sure what's going to go on. They've got 120 full-time employees that they don't know because the furlough scheme's going to end. So it's so with that sort of whole thing in mind, and musicians being in the same boat. Yeah. Now it's starting up a little bit more, but with the whole making of videos during lockdown and doing these sort of remote ensembles and things as people have done, yes, it's a good thing. Like I'm sort of, I don't know where I stand with this. If once I get to the point. I see you're falling asleep there. No, I'm patient. So what are your thoughts on whether it's a good thing or not? Because people...
the home recording thing?
Yeah, because people, they still got the music, right? And now the majority of the time, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, they got it for free, right? So they didn't feel the miss. I'm talking about regular people, non-musician people, who enjoy going to gigs. Civilians, yes, people outside the dark backstages.
Yeah.
So they still got that. So they didn't feel the miss, if you understand what I mean. So the urgency to get it all back isn't so much of a priority for them. Whereas I feel that it was a good thing because you're getting more exposure. Absolutely, it gave you time to work out new things. Everybody had more time to write. Everybody had more time to collaborate. But on the other hand, did we sort of, by giving it away for free and by constantly providing new content, did we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot by not creating an urgency? Because in my opinion, music and arts it's important in our life, and more important than a lot of other things. Sports, for instance. Sports. I used to play sports all my life. It's not, but what I'm saying is the footy's back and 1,000 people can go see the football match, right? But clubs can't open because you can't have people in an enclosed space and this and that. And it was sort of in terms of the priority of funding from the government, it's sort of lower on the list. Because, it's the arts. It's not an essential industry. But, having said that, last year was worth, 4.5 billion to the economy.
Yeah.
One of the fastest rising industries, employing, I think, in London, 600,000 freelance people. So it's a thing. So what are your thoughts? Do you think that it was a good thing doing that, or did we shoot ourselves in the foot, or how? Because I'm 50-50 on this. I think it was a good thing because you can get more exposure. People were home more, so they had more time to ingest new stuff and learn to know new people. I don't know.
Well, I think lots of musicians that didn't know how to record themselves properly and things now know what buttons to push and stuff to get a product out, but not a professional standard product out, not something that people would pay for. So that's one bit kind of ticked off, that it's only people that really are interested in it and are really good at it that I think that will have more of a revenue stream from doing those recordings at home. I think it's only people that are really good at it. I think the most people that have done stuff, I think the recorded multi-tracking and things, who might normally have jobs in orchestras or freelance or teach or I think lots of projects like that. I think people kind of it burns itself out a little bit because it's like, well, they've done it, but I don't use the word amateurs, but people who don't have such a deep creative pot to dip into, are going to empty that pot, sort of sooner than the people who are super talented, your Callum Hours, your writers, your Andy Woods and your Trevor Myers, and people who've got real kind of different messages going on, who've got a lot to say. Those people, even though right now their incomes are low and it's really hard for all the freelancers, I don't think going forward into the future that it would have been detrimental because of people recording stuff and learning how to record things. I do think that there are elements of the recording industry that will be different now. I think that it might start going more. For instance, if someone just needs one trombone just to do some little funny sound effects on a comedy show or whatever, rather than getting that person to a studio and the expense of that. If someone's got a show reel that they can just sort of do it in their back garden, they'll do that. And I think there's a lot of in LA that it's been like that for a long time anyway. A lot of people with their own studios, they're recording their stuff and send it in. So
yeah, I mean, most of these DAWs have a collaboration, option where you can, you set up a cloud and you just mix things like that.
But I and you talk about the free content. Yes, people shouldn't be giving loads of stuff away for free, but I don't. There's a lot of things that have been recorded which should be for free because they're interesting to listen to and nice to listen to, but it's not an all-encompassing art experience. Where in the way that a live experience is, or something that's been thought about in a different way by someone doing different things. So I think in order to have kept musicians busy so they didn't go mental, I think that it was quite a good thing, people doing these recordings. And like I say, the different types of people that are doing a performance because they want an audience, or people wanting to do things as a collaborative thing, like with an audience. I think it's different how people have been going into it. A lot of people that I know that were recording all those things haven't been recording those things for a long time, because it's like, it's done.
Yeah, it's done.
And you're talking about whether people have been seeing these things, it's meant they've got their dose. I mean, we did some live outdoor shows down at Guildhall, on the next to the lake on the grass. It was lovely, playing some Gabriele across the lake at the audience, and then the LPO was performing on stage, doing some couple of songs from the Das Knaben Wunderhorn, Mahler, and a bit of Wagner, and it's lovely, beautifully well sort of conceived kind of project. And but at Glyndebourne normally we sweep into the pit, we do our bit, and then we go out and we don't see the audience very much. Well, because we were outside and the audience were outside, we saw the audience more than I've seen the orchestra more than I've seen the audience in my last 15 years there. And every single show that we did, walking through, you'd walk past a table of people, because they have their picnics, because it's all that stuff. Walk past a table having their picnics before they take their proper seats in the ticketed area, and every table you walk past, there'd be someone trying to catch your eye. When you feel someone trying to catch your eye as you're walking past, and you just look over and go, "Oh, hi," and everyone, every show was like, "Oh, we're so glad to be here. We're so grateful that you're here." I mean, we had all of our music cancelled for the summer. People that go to the Bible Art Festival, people that go down to sort of see the English National Opera and the Royal Opera House, and go down to Bournemouth to see what the Bournemouth Symphony do. People travelling all around, seeing all their music from in their summer, and they haven't had any of it. And everyone was like, we're so grateful that you're here. This is so amazing, like amazing. And I was like saying, well, we're really grateful that you're here, because if you weren't here, there's a good chance we wouldn't be here.
That's true.
And they're like, no, but we're really grateful that you're here. And I'm like, no, but we're there's this gratitude off. Yeah, healthy competition. There's a gratitude off, between them, and it's really it's stupid, isn't it? I've been in this business for. Well, I've been a professional trombone player for 25 years or something, and it's till now I've realised that people who come to concerts, be it pop, be it classical, be it opera, be it rock, be it electronic, be it dancing, be it whatever, jazz, anything. There are people amongst that audience that are as passionate about listening to that music as passionate performers like me are about performing, and I've always seen the audience as, I've always respected audiences, but I've always kind of seen audiences as we're taking something to them. Well, in a way, yeah. I've seen them slightly more as spectators than collaborators, and now I do see them in a very different way, because the level of passion amongst some of these people.
There's also the energy that they bring, and the vibe that they bring, and like you said, is that reciprocity of energy and of just making things bigger and bigger, because the whole thing about playing without an audience. Every time we've done a live stream, Ronnie's I speak to the musicians, and it's so weird performing to an empty club and still giving it your, you got to bring your A game still, like you would have gotten that feedback, but there's no feedback to have. There's no clap after a solo. There's no cheer. There's no, bras being thrown at the stage or anything.
I've got a little funny story about that. So when the LPO played for the official opening of the Shard, for those international listeners, it's a big tall new building in London next to London Bridge.
Looks like a shard of glass.
Yeah, and it was the whole affair was light show and stuff. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't a massively grand thing, but I think you probably. What
were you doing there then?
Well, actually, I wasn't there because I took the gig off. But the orchestra wasn't at the Shard. Right? The orchestra was playing in a marquee on the opposite side of or in a big hall or something on the other side of the river, and it was all being relayed and broadcast to all the people that were standing outside watching all the light show and everything. So they were playing, and apart from that, there was a little problem with the sound where one violin desk sound got pumped up higher than all. So you can just hear one violinist kind of like sticking out there, someone going for some reason, which was slightly amusing, but then when it got to the end, and it's it was Stravinsky's Firebird, and if anyone doesn't know how exciting this piece is, listen to the finale from Stravinsky's Firebird or Oiseau de Feu, and it ends with this big finish, and it's one of those ones where as soon as it finishes, like the audience are like straight away. There's not a kind of
orgasms.
Yeah, there's not a no. It's like straight. Well, they hadn't discussed what anything when the orchestra finished, because obviously all the people at the other side of the lake they were applauding and stuff. But no one in the room could hear that.
Yeah,
so we go to no, even worse than that. There was one dude. I don't know if he wouldn't have been sound engineering, but there was someone there, sort of just in the room listening. And when it gets to the end, one guy by himself. and it broadcast
that one
single. And before they go, it was on, and it sounds. It was just the most one of the most
loneliest
beautiful
band in the world.
It's very amusing to hear.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah. That's so brilliant. Oh, talk about the loneliest man in the world. When we were touring through the States, 2012 with James McCartney, our drummer Tobias Humble, great guy, he's a bit younger than we are, really good guy, but he had this knack of finding himself in a spot where he looks like he's the only person in the world. And throughout the 6-week tour, every time we catch him looking like, because there would be nobody in the background, we'd be in an airport, right, and he would like sit on his luggage, and it looks like it's empty, but in fact there's like hundreds and thousands of people, but he looks like the loneliest man on earth. And we started an album. By the end of the 6 weeks, we gave him this album, and it's just like, here you go, loneliest man in the world.
Well, all the photos. Oh, sweet.
Brilliant. Yeah, that was some fun times. Debauchery. Oh. We had a week off in LA. We did we played at the Roxy, and then we stayed at the Standard, just like 2 blocks down from there on Hollywood Boulevard. And then the next day, James flew back to the UK to attend a wedding of someone, and that was a couple of day affair. And then he flew back another 3 days later. So this whole time we were just there, getting paid, doing nothing. It's a lot of drinking.
Yeah. Well, being a trombone player, there's we're used sparingly in some repertoires, and I was in Tokyo once. I was on tour in Japan with an orchestra, and it was mainly a Beethoven tour, and we arrived, and the whole band was together for about 4 or 5 days, and then they were going off around the rest of Japan on tour for about a week, and they're doing programs that we weren't needed in. So they asked us, would you like to obviously you were being paid, and we had sort of spending some money on our per diems, and they were like, do you want to travel around with the band, or just want to stay in Tokyo? So we stayed in Tokyo for a week.
Nice.
And we weren't over the jet lag, so we kind of went a bit nocturnal. But yeah, I saw the sushi market at crack of dawn when it's still in the place where it was, where you could go around and see all these big tunas being sort of sliced up by big samurai swords, and three guys chopping up fish. The most amazing thing ever. And we went to see it was sumo season, so went to see the sumo.
Brilliant.
And that's a whole new story about touring and all that sort of stuff. Because with my orchestra is normally on tour for anywhere between kind of 6 weeks to 2 months of the year. But when I was just out of music college, and I was in the orchestra, the Marlow Chamber Orchestra that I was in until I joined the LPO, I'd be on tour 4 or 5 months of the year, sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's as it is fun, especially in one's 20s. It's
absolutely
fun. But it does get to a point where it's fun, but actually I'd like to be somewhere and not have a suitcase all the time. And that's why it's really nice joining the LPO and being able to stay put and do my thing and get married and have kids and and have a nice life. But I know there were some people that aren't in a situation where they can choose that, and the people that have to tour and have to be these itinerant workers that go where the work is, and freelance musicians are having it so hard at the moment, and they've always had it hard compared to people in kind of fixed sort of jobs like me. But it's the freelance musicians that I feel sorriest for at the moment, and there are some that do have skill sets to do other things. There's one of my really good friends, Carol, who did the Carol Jarvis, who did the video for Disorganized Crime, and she's a monster player as well as an amazing digital person. But she also does voiceovers.
Great.
She's got a little student. Another friend of mine who's I'll even nameless, but he's also on that Disorganized Crime, and he's been delivering for Waitrose. I know other amazing musicians that have been doing charity work, going to bookshops, and a friend of mine is a trombone player in the Royal Opera House. He's been going to charity shops, looking at their books, because he knows about books and knows what's valuable and what's not. He's been sort of going through that. So many freelance musicians are doing so many amazing things, basically just to keep going. And we all have to stay positive. We do, because it will all come back, and it might be different, but people presuming it's going to be a bit different in a worse way. But if the LPO's kind of average attendance at Festival Hall sort of concerts over the last 5 or 6 years is actually above 80% is the average kind of turnout for a concert, which is great for classical music. Of course, the occasional program when you get 5 people and his dog, but we're pushing them both out artistically, and if it's not everyone's cup of tea, well, there we go. But we're so sort of busy, and sorry, the halls are so full, so much of the time, that there's space for more. So if it goes up over the next few years to 90% or 95%, and then the people that sponsor the concerts, who put their adverts in the programs, and they see, there's more people coming to this concert, then we can put some more money into that, and then we've got and then we've got fantastic donors that support the orchestra and support what we do, and if they see more people coming, and they come to concerts themselves, and they bring more people. This is this real buzz now. It's open again, and all this. Things could change. But the downside of it, and we talked a little bit before about the finances in the financial world, basically, it's financial management that could mess the whole thing up. Because places like the South Bank is in trouble financially.
Yeah, that's where we had our protest the other day.
Yeah.
The we make events thing. Just to kind of show. I mean, I have to be honest. I was kind of disappointed with the turnout. There were a few thousand people, but I'd have thought that there would be more. I hadn't
heard about it.
Yeah, no. Basically, we all just put on a red shirt and had a red light, and we stood all along the North and South Bank, next to the National Theatre.
Yeah.
It was from the London Eye all the way down to as far as we could go.
Wow.
It's hopefully this thing is gonna. But yeah, I mean, we just need to. This is also, I suppose, a good opportunity to test oneself. To almost Darwinian, right? Where if you don't adapt, you die.
Yeah.
And some of us aren't in a position where we can ride it out. So you have to sort of capitalize on some of your other strengths. Like a good mate of mine, bass player, he started a pizza pop-up pizzeria. So, and it started with one night. Now he's doing 5 nights in one place, and he's got Thursday to Sunday he's doing in the one place, then he's got another Tuesday night somewhere else, and then he does a Sunday morning sort of car boot sale area thing. And yeah, he's doing all right. He's doing all right, and seen other people do other things.
Yeah, well, I've seen you build a sauna in your garden. All the other things that you make. I mean, it's incredible the level of ingenuity that people are into. But there are some freelance musicians that, I mean, another side effect of this is people being depressed and when
a big problem.
Yeah, and when people are depressed and they don't feel they've got any worth, that's not the best thing to get creative.
No,
it's
not.
I say I'm really lucky that my orchestra's been helping me out and they've been supporting us sort of financially through this. I'm really, really lucky. But I can't imagine what it's like if you've got a mortgage and everything to pay and this silly cut-off that they made for freelancers that if you earn over £50,000 you get nothing. The idea being to stop people who earn over 200,000 as a freelance claiming it. It's like, well, then put the limit at 200,000. And there was all the West End players that played in all the shows. A lot of those have completely lost their jobs. And they're certainly not being paid at all, and some of the shows just gone. And all those people who were so talented, and it's just sort of nothing. And online one of my friends, he's having to sell one of his trombones.
Yeah, I mean it's always a risk when it comes to the arts, because I think people who create art may be on the more sensitive end of the scale in terms of self-worth and self-esteem and these sorts of things. Yes, and that comes back to the whole arrogance thing, right? People who are sort of afraid and they'll sometimes portray themselves as arrogant.
Yeah.
So yes, what you said about being depressed and things like that's a big problem. It's a big problem because naturally we are more inclined to be sensitive people, and now we're in a situation that's not of our own making, and that's a tough one to bear through. So I really just hope that everybody, all the musicians and everybody really just finds another outlet or a positive reinforcement thing, because that's the reason why I started doing all these other things, because I enjoy doing them, and I've always enjoyed having different things. I don't want to just be a fucking cleaver, right? I'd rather be a Swiss Army knife. Yes, I'm a bit smaller, okay, but I've got multifunctions.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a corkscrew that just about works, and I've got a blade that will cut 3 times, and then you got to sharpen it.
And you've got a bit that no one knows what it's for.
The little pointy thing with the oh, that's what you do with it. It's for stringing leather. Ah, okay.
Felting venison.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and cutting out snake venom. Yeah, no, I mean it's I think there's I heard this thing and I've said it so many times. There was this samurai in the 15th century, also wrote a book, and he was like the man, but he was also an artist and a poet and a painter and everything. And his whole philosophy is that you have to be good at other things as well to support your main purpose.
Yeah.
To make you a more rounded, full-rounded human being. And you have to also do everything else that you do with the same intensity and the same energy that you do your main or your primary thing, right? Because I mean, like in Japan they have the tea pouring ceremony, and the whole thing is about how you do it, and it's fuck drinking the tea, okay? It's all about preparing the whole thing and getting it and pouring it just so, and everything like everything you do, you have to do it, try and strive and do that one action perfectly.
Yeah.
And then you move on to the next thing, and if you can bring that, and it will just support your main thing, and also you get a break from it, because it doesn't matter how much you love doing what you do. I think doing it monotonously is a problem, and it's also a creativity killer. It's I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah, but that's a thing.
I don't know. I can't remember exactly where we were.
Yeah.
But it's if you can have other interests and hobbies and things, it brings that break, but then also it fills in the gaps, and it helps. I find doing sort of manual labor or doing things like that, it gives my brain some time to process other things that I don't always have time to process.
Yeah.
So
Malcolm Henshaw.
Malcolm Henshaw.
Not Nigel Henshaw. Malcolm Henshaw.
I'm sure he's going to appreciate that.
Malcolm. Malcolm. There we go. Sorry,
Big up Malcolm.
So much. Sorry, I was listening to you. It just came then.
No. It's no. Yeah. See, the brain's processing whilst you're doing the monotonous shit. Listening to this boring guy.
I'm listening to you, but I'm waiting to say something. I've got something to say.
No. Brilliant. Anyway, so. Where we've gotten up to, I think we've covered everything, haven't we?
Oh well,
I think so.
Loads. I could rabbit on for ages, and I could listen to you talk as well, because you've got some very, very nice ways of looking at life. It's very, very nice the way you look at things.
Well, I try. I mean, there's, we're only here now, and doesn't matter what you think, what comes before or after. But you're only living now. Your consciousness is only here now.
Yep.
And it's not even 2 minutes from now, and it's not even 2 minutes ago. It's right fucking now.
Yeah.
So, try and, be nice.
Well, I think if we can, so we lost my dad a couple of years ago, and for him to have kind of seen and been able to have celebrate the sort of professional and artistic achievements that I've had since deciding to be a trombone player, and him having seen that
was a blow for a living.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean it's amazing that he got to see that, and we've still got my mum and all that, but eventually I will pop off this mortal coil, and hopefully I'll see my kids sort of, do well, just so that they know that their dad has seen them do well. And everything's cyclical, and I think just life is short, and to share things and experiences with people and have fun while you're doing it, and so you can be proud of your achievements, and your friends can be proud of you, and you can and all that sort of thing. It all filters back into how we sort of feel about ourselves and feeling good. And there was something else I was going to say as well, but it's completely escaped my mind.
When you get to that final curtain call, and there's a light over yonder, and your life flashes. What I always say is that when that film reel rolls past my eyes, can I say I did my best? That's all I need. That's the only thing that I want to know. Is like, it doesn't matter whether I've achieved or whether I've succeeded or whether because again, bringing it around to circumstance and individual experience, I might not have had the opportunity somebody else has had. Hence, I didn't get that job, or hence I didn't do that thing, or I didn't, But being an in spite of person rather than a because of person, is the way. And then get to the end and say, listen, you know what? I took this hand of cards and I fucking played the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I struck out.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
But I played it.
Yeah.
I didn't just sit there and hold on to it. And maybe it's, so.
Well, I've got some regrets about things that I would have liked to have done, or the things that I didn't do.
Those are usually the biggest regrets, aren't they?
Well, yeah, and
do not regret the things I've done, those I did not do.
Yes, and it's and I think that keeps me going, to making sure that I am making the right decisions. And when I see people sort of recording solo albums, and I see people sort of doing sort of big grand projects, and I see all this, and I ask myself, well, would I have liked to have done something like that? And there's a bit of me that goes, actually, at some point in my life, I'll record an album of music that means stuff to me that I've decided to make, and at some point I'll do that. But it won't be because I want a solo career. I think I said earlier on in the podcast, I've always just wanted to be an orchestral player, and that's always been good enough for me. And any regrets that I've got from things that I haven't done, and choices that I might have made, instantly get kind of blown out of the water in the fact that I've got two great kids who both work hard, and they're both creative, and they're both funny, and they're both nice, and they're both kind, and they're both a bit mischievous, and they're both wind us up occasionally, but they're proper human beings. Any kind of regret I've got as well. Okay, if I'd wanted to have that sort of life as a musician, and I wanted to be that busy, I wouldn't have seen my children growing up.
But you can also, you can always console yourself in the idea that there's another you that had gone and done that in a parallel universe.
Yeah.
If you believe in quantum theory and quantum universes and things like that, there is. I do as well.
Yeah, but that me that's in that parallel universe that's got all that, his kids are much more ugly.
That's true. Or he didn't have kids.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. I mean, I take comfort in that. There's another me out there that did the things that I wanted to do, or that I didn't get to do, or whatever.
Yeah.
So well done to you.
Well, was it Leonardo da Vinci? He said words to the effect of the brain will only process things that it enjoys doing, which means that if you're learning to study something, if you don't love it, study something else. Yeah. If you're doing anything if you're doing anything because you think you should, that for qualifications or whatever, if you don't love it, don't do it, because you're not going to be the best at it unless you absolutely love it.
Yeah.
You won't be the best at it.
Yeah, you're not going to bake the best bread because you didn't put love into it.
Exactly.
It's definitely what you put into it, and also bear in mind this is probably what you're going to have to do for the rest of your life. Okay, I mean 99% of us have to work for a living.
Yeah.
And spend 40 hours a week doing it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be fucking miserable doing what you're doing and make other people's lives miserable, just change, just do something else.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that, really.
And talking of change, do we need to go and drink a cup of tea in your garden now?
I think a cup of tea and some burgers.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Right. Well, thank you very much, Mark Templeton. It's been a pleasure.
Jake, thanks, man. Been lovely.
All right.
Cheers, man.
Great. There we have it. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I have. If you would like to get in contact with Mark, I will be posting his social media in the description, as will I do mine, as always. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/HeySoundGuy. You can support me there. As always, like, share, subscribe, get the word out there. Keep it sound.